Eye Contact, a Mark Manning Mystery, Book 2. Author, Michael Kraft. Publisher, Open Road Integrated Media, New York. Narrator, Eric Aust. Friday, July 2nd. Pink clouds drift through Manning's brain as his feet trod the barren surface of a faraway planet. Mechanically, without thought or will, one clean white shoe springs ahead of the other, tramping in the dust a path that meanders across the patchwork of his footprints, shooting toward the horizon in all directions. There is no order to this run, no circumscribes, no Zarnick equator. The remote day star scribbles random patterns in the black sky. Pink clouds hang low to blur Manning's vision, stinging his eyes with their glowing cosmic gases. This isn't pretty. It isn't fun. It's a frustrating excursion through a bland, passive world made hostile by its sheer desolation. The dream ensnares Manning with its pointless drudgery, goading him onward to a new morning in the real world that never dawns. Pink clouds swipe past his naked body, whirling around his legs, slipping past his genitals, keeping him constantly aroused, but it doesn't feel good. His erect penis slaps from side to side in rhythm with his gait. It hurts, exhausted by his night-long run. He can't even remember when it began. Manning finally slows his pace and stops. His chest heaves as he gulps the clouds into his lungs. Not knowing whether they will nourish or poison, he must lie down, supine, on the desert floor. He feels its powdery grit against his calves, buttocks, and shoulder blades. He wags his head, grinding his hair in it. His mind becomes focused on the starry noonday sky, lost in the levels of infinity that separate innumerable layers of lustrous pinpricks. One of those dots, the one shining brighter than all others, is the sun, 7 billion miles away, commanding the movement of the planet beneath Manning's feet. Somewhere near the sun, but hidden in darkness, is planet Earth. There, people go about their lives, waking, breathing, talking, eating, working, fighting, loving, sexing, lying, sleeping, dreaming, still dreaming. But here, all is silence, except for the tick of the tips of the laces against the leather of his white running shoes. Here, nothing moves except the jerking of his hand between his legs and the drifting of the lifeless clouds above him. He shuts his eyes, concentrating on the tension that builds in his groin. Stroking himself, Manning waits to feel the presence of those muscular visitors who always seem to join him at this stage, bringing him to the brink of orgasm. There were 2 of them lately, only one. Where is he? Who is he? Where are they? They should be here. He needs them. Manning opens his eyes, hearing music. That's odd. But seeing no one, he is totally alone in the sands and the clouds. There is no faithful lover, no secret trick. But there is music all around him, now lovely and familiar. What is that? Name that tune? Mozart, surely. A later symphony, maybe the 40th, or is it the 41st? They're easily confused, those middle movements. Yes, the 41st. The Jupiter. Strange venue. Jupiter on Zarnick? Manning opens his eyes, hearing the radio at his bedside. He has overslept. He normally awakes the second it switches on during the early morning newscast, but that's long finished, and the Mozart grinds toward its finale. He took a Xanax before bed and still feels groggy. The memory of the fight, the car rushes back to him and knots his stomach. At least he slept. He squints at the clock. It's nearly 7. Why didn't Neil wake him when the radio switched on? Didn't he hear it either? Manning rolls over to nudge Neil on the other side of the bed, but Neil isn't there, and the knot in Manning's stomach tightens, secreting something acidic. Not the least groggy now, Manning sits up, right in bed, peering about the balcony. Then he switches off the radio, holding his breath to listen for any evidence of activity. There's an unremarkable background noise from downstairs. Something mechanical. Probably the refrigerator, but otherwise the loft is dead quiet. When at last he exhales, the sound of air rushing up his throat and past his teeth seems magnified in the silence. like a metal rake dragged across concrete. He swings his legs to the floor and stands, grabbing a seersucker bathrobe. He slips it on and flaps it around him, padding to the bathroom for a look inside. The lights are on, all is in order. But then he notices that the toiletries near Neil's sink seem different. Neil normally groups them precisely and aesthetically, composing something of a miniature skyline against the backsplash. But some of the items are now missing, and the ones that remain are askew. Not a promising sign. Although last night ended on a terrible note, Manning fears that this morning is beginning on a worse one. So he heads downstairs, determined to learn what has happened, but dreading what he may find. It doesn't take long. First, he notices that the broken glass has been cleaned up. Crossing to the kitchen, he sees that there is still coffee warming for him in the pot, and then he spots it. A folded sheet of paper, propped on the counter next to his usual coffee mug. A very bad sign indeed. Stepping closer, he reads the word Mark, written in Neil's distinctive hand on the letter's outer flap. On the one hand, he wants to grab it at once and read what's inside. On the other, he wants to postpone it as long as possible. He at least needs to pour a cup of coffee first, which he does. He lifts the paper still folded and carries it with his cup to the center island, plopping himself on a stool. He takes the first sip of coffee. Then, bracing himself, he opens the letter. Dear Mark, last night really threw me. I need some time to think about what's happened. Suddenly, I don't know where we're headed. It's ironic that I should feel this way just as we finally gotten settled into the loft. Maybe I was naive in equating the completion of our home, its physical structure, with the stability of a relationship that I assumed was unshakable. But I'm an architect. It's a mindset. You may have noticed that I packed a few things and took them to the office. I'll go to Roxanne's tonight and stay there a while. It'll be better for us. Actually, I have no idea what's better for us, but I just don't care to face you right now. You've hurt me terribly. I feel nothing but anger at the moment, and I don't know if I can forgive you. If I can, I don't know how long it will take. Like I said, I need some time to think. You're sleeping soundly as I write this. I don't know whether that's the result of your cleansed conscience or simply the benign effect of champagne and Xanax. In either case, I resent it. You did what you had to do, then drifted off to dreamland while my night was sleepless. Because my life had been turned upside down. Because of the festival, the weekend that lies ahead would be, even under ideal circumstances, the most anxiety-ridden of my life. And now the whole situation has become infinitely more complicated. Though many things confuse me right now, I can say this with absolute objectivity. Your sense of timing is atrocious. So where are we? You act as though nothing has happened, yet the fact that you felt the need to confess your dalliance shows that you understand the gravity of what's happened to us. I do believe you when you say you're sorry. I'm also willing to believe that you truly want to put the incident behind us. In other words, I think your head is in the right place. Even so, I feel as if my brain has been fucked and fried. Sorry, but that's where I'm at. Please do not phone me. We both got plenty else on our plates right now. Let's just get through the weekend. Maybe next week we can talk. Let's hope that the love we found and the home we built, the life we share, not the loft, will be sufficient to see us through. But I have to tell you, Mark, I'm just not sure. Neil. Manning hasn't touched the coffee. He stares at the letter as if it's not real. Surely he's dreaming now. This is one of those dreams that haunt the pre-dawn hours, with specters of death or missed exams or bowel movements in public places. He shakes his head, hoping to wake to a bright, normal morning of his everyday life. But no. This morning, this letter, this cup of cold coffee are real. Neil may have packed little more than a toothbrush and razor, but that could signal the beginning of the end. Toiletries today, but what about tomorrow? There could be a U-Haul sputtering at their loading dock. Neil has packed very little, but he's gone. It may not be forever. Man, he can't even fathom such a possibility. But the cold hard fact remains that Neil has left him. A Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold: to offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides, and in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.